How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about John Carpenter's The Fog from 1980. Now, we're talking about the John Carpenter version. There is a remake out there, so if you guys are watching this movie for the first time, make sure it says John Carpenter's and not the remake of The Fog, and this DVD is everywhere. Definitely look for the original Carpenter version first. Anyway, The Fog from 1980, directed by John Carpenter, and stars Adrienne Barbeau, Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Atkins, and Janet Leigh. This movie was written by John Carpenter and Debra Hill. Debra Hill also played a part as a producer. Debra Hill, who you guys may have remembered her from Halloween. She worked with Carpenter then as well, and actually, Debra Hill, John Carpenter, Jamie Lee Curtis, there's a lot of the reoccurring crew, a lot of the people that worked on Halloween also worked on The Fog. This was John Carpenter's follow-up theatrical film. I have to specify theatrical, because I think he did some made-for-TV stuff. I think Elvis and Someone's Watching Me came out between Halloween and The Fog, but this is essentially his follow-up to Halloween. And you get to see a lot of the same atmosphere, a lot of the same crew. I find that when you look at Halloween and The Fog, is they almost work like they're stories that you'd hear people tell, like when people tell scary stories, and Halloween's more the true crime, and The Fog is more the supernatural ghost stories, but they both have that sort of, real, told, scary stories, like something you may hear your friend tell around the campfire, and they both seem to work together pretty well. I know some people watch these as a double feature, and the fact that they came out essentially back-to-back is pretty cool, and I really do like this movie. I'd say probably top 10 Carpenter, and although I know some people really like it, I know some people are huge fans of this, top 10 Carpenter, but I wouldn't go so far as to put it in top 5. There are a few faults with this movie that we'll get into to the end, but it's still a pretty good movie, and I really do like it, and I really do like atmosphere, the key word for this movie, and it's really fun, and hey, Adrienne Barbeau, Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Atkins, Janet Leigh, a great cast for this movie too, and a really good story. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive right into the plot. Now, I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what this movie's about. We open up around a campfire, which is so super fitting. It really establishes the tone of this story and what it's trying to do. It's around a campfire where you get this old sea captain telling a story to some young kids, and he's talking about how there was once a ship and the fog rolled in and they crashed on the rocks, and that was 100 years ago, and now that it's 100 years later, the fog will roll in and the ghost will come back. And we find out that this isn't exactly the story that happened. There's a big dark secret behind this story, but you still do get this campfire setting. The guy who's doing the story does a really good job at making it a creepy story. And we cut to various places around town that night. The mysterious fog's off in the distance, and little things are happening in town, Things are getting knocked over, glass is breaking for no reason, phones are just ringing, there's a bank of payphones and they're all just ringing for no reason, and a gas pump just falls off the hook and just starts pouring gas on the ground. It's a whole bunch of things that in and of themselves are innocuous, but just a little bit of weird things happening all over the town. You get the hint that something's happening, and this also, by having the ghost show up like this first, you really do get the idea that they're more real, the ghost in a bunch of little things that just aren't right, you know? So, a pretty cool night before the ghost arrive, pretty cool atmosphere and building and letting that tension kind of bubble. And then we meet our main characters, Adrienne Barbeau. Talk about her first. She's a radio personality. She doesn't appear to have too many people working with her at the radio station. I think she's by herself. And she's broadcasting from a lighthouse, which is such a cool idea, because both are cool concepts. A radio host out there all alone, and combine that with one of the loneliest jobs, the lighthouse keeper. She's in a lighthouse, away from everybody, yet even though she's away from everybody, she's kind of the coordinator, the person who hears all these different aspects of the story. She's what's holding this big, because it's kind of a big sprawling story. If you guys like, say, Salem's Lot, where it's about everyone in the town, this is kind of like that. And because she's getting phone calls and she can look down and see what's going on, she's tying the whole town together and everyone can hear her. So she's tying the town together. She's in this really cool place, and she's got her really good radio DJ voice, you know, and that's pretty cool. She also has a son back in town who's with the nanny, so that gives her, you know, more of an emotional tie to the town even when she's far away. And Adrienne Barbeau is a really cool character, what a lot of people remember this movie for. Up next, Janet Leigh. Janet Leigh is a person who's coordinating events for the town. It's the town's 100-year anniversary coming up, and she's doing a bunch of stuff to prepare for that. So a social character. And why she's doing all that, why she's getting ready for the town's 100th year anniversary, she gets a call from a Catholic priest. The Catholic priest, while all the spooky stuff was happening, a piece of the brick in the wall of the church fell down, and he finds, hidden in the wall, a mysterious book that talks about the town's dark secret. So the priest is going to tell her that, and they're going to learn all about the terrible, messed up stuff that happened that led to the creation of their town. So that's pretty cool, and you understand why the ghosts are so mad. So that's that. And then we get Jamie Lee Curtis and Tom Atkins' character. Jamie Lee Curtis is a hitchhiker, and she's going on her way to Toronto, and she's kind of going at her own leisurely pace, and she meets Tom Atkins hitchhiking, and because she kind of, you know, is just doing whatever she wants, and she's in no big hurry, she kind of falls for Tom Atkins. The two are together, and she'll move on when she's ready to move, you know? So she's there with Tom Atkins. Tom Atkins' friends are in a boat that never came back, and they go out looking for them, and they find one of their friends' bodies, and they take it to the morgue, and the morgue worker goes, "Okay, you just saw this guy a few days ago, right? Well, it looks like he was drowned, and the state of the body makes it look like he's been underwater for at least a month." So one of those cool, the ghost gets you and just totally messes up your corpse. But they're like, this guy drowned a month ago, but we just saw him like a day or two or something. So really cool, creepy, you don't know what's happening, and all the characters are in their places. Then the next night comes, the night. The fog rolls in, and the ghost of these sailors come walking out of the fog, and they're really cool too. John Carpenter talked about how this movie was heavily inspired by old EC comics, and you can see that, you know, the ghost, the secret, out for revenge, and the design of these ghosts. These ghosts actually look really, really cool, and it's kind of a shame you don't see them too often. They're kept in the shadows a lot, but like if you look at Halloween, you do actually get to see Michael Myers quite a bit. I would have loved to see these ghosts more. They're really cool, and I wish we got a good look at them for longer. I really do love these. But yeah, the ghosts are super awesome. The idea that they come in from the fog it's just such a great atmosphere. The old pirate ghosts, well, they're not really pirates, but walking in from the fog, and they're gonna get you with their hooks and stuff. And yeah, because they got those, the wooden handle and the hook, and they hold and they go shh. It's really fun. And you do really love the cold and creepy atmosphere. It really does feel like a fall night in this old seaside town. And I should stress, too, atmosphere for being a seaside town as well. The seaside town is great. Adrienne Barbeau and her lighthouse, lots of little small businesses and houses that look really realistic. And I bet you were actually shot on location. And it's a real lived-in town, not the biggest booming community, a small seaside town, which is a great place for these ghosts to be haunting. And some really cool moments. Now, that being said, I did mention at the beginning that there were some flaws with this movie, and there are a few things I do want to address. First of all, it is a little slower at the opening. It's not too bad, and I get they want to build atmosphere, but, again, I want more of the Ghost Pirates. But that's just a little nitpick. I just wish it was a little faster. Another one of those is there are a lot of characters, and I did like most of the characters, in particular Jamie Lee Curtis and Adrienne Barbeau. Jamie Lee Curtis gets to be, she was the nice, final girl in Halloween. She gets to be a little more rebellious here. And if you like Jamie Lee Curtis as the hitchhiker in this movie, definitely go watch this movie called Road Games. She's a very similar character. She's a hitchhiker in Road Games. Definitely, if you like her in The Fog, go watch Road Games as well. That's a really good movie. But anyway, I liked a lot of these characters, but there were a whole bunch of them, and I kind of wish it focused more on either Jamie Lee Curtis or Adrienne Barbeau. If one of those two characters got the majority of the screen time and it was their movie. But then again, I know some people do like movies with bigger, sprawling characters, so again, I find that more a personal nitpick with this movie. This also, while it is a rated R movie, it was shot to be PG. In fact, John Carpenter got really mad at the rating board after this. He kept trying to get it a PG. He says it's a campfire story and that all should enjoy it. And in turn, there's not anything too overly gory. I think the studio did let him add in a few more things when they saw they couldn't avoid the R rating. But that being said, it's one of those movies that when you know it was shot to be PG, you can see it, and I kind of wish the pirate ghosts were more in-your-face, gory, and killing people more violently. Although that being said, Halloween's not super violent. But I wish this was a harder R. Although, that being said, you can show this to younger kids, even though it's an R movie, it's still okay to show to the younger horror crowd. It's nothing too terribly bad in here, but again, just personal preference. But the one thing that did kind of bug me about this movie is the ghosts say 6 people must die. Now, 6 isn't a too terribly large body count, but it's a fine number. But it's something about knowing beforehand the exact body count. It kind of, like at the end of the movie, there's several characters left, and they have one more that has to die. And it's sort of like, okay, knowing that only one out of this whole big crowd is going to die kind of relieves a lot of the tension. And then plus, the fog is rolling into this big city, and knowing that the pirates are only gonna, I know they're not pirates, but knowing that these sailors are only gonna kill 6 people, it doesn't make it feel like the whole town's in danger, And by saying 6 right off the bat, I'm like, I should feel like the whole town is being enveloped in this fog. The whole town's in danger, but telling us that it's only going to be 6, I really didn't like that element. I felt that didn't work. But overall, even though I did list some flaws, I do want to stress that I do really like this movie. The cool fog with the glow rolling in and consuming this town is a great idea. Adrienne Barbeau up there in her lighthouse, looking down at the fog rolling over the streets, getting on the radio going, the fog has moved past this street, the fog's moving past that street, everybody try to stay safe. There's a whole lot to like in this movie, and I really do like the atmosphere. I really do like, you know, ghost pirates. I know they're not pirates. Coming out of the fog, it's a really, really great story, and I really do like a lot of it, even though I do have some faults, you know. But I really did like this movie. Anyway, I do want to cover the rest of this. You know, I mentioned earlier there was the remake, and the remake also has from Dark Horse a prequel comic, and I do want to cover both of those pretty soon, you know. I'm in kind of a fog mood. Let's go ahead and talk about everything. So I'll get to those soon. To everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching, and to everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You're really helping the channel out. I'll put a relevant playlist at the bottom. If you guys want to see more, you can click there and see more. This should be my John Carpenter playlist. So if you want to hear me talk about more John Carpenter stuff, that will be right there at the bottom. Anyway, to everyone, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist at the bottom. Have a good day now.